I am going live. Hold on. My microphone. Oh, shoot. Oh my god, people are watching. Please don't watch this. This is a test. Guys. Click away. I mean, if you stick around, I can talk to you in the chat, but this is the first time ever streaming. I just woke up. I don't know if you can even hear me. Let's see. Why are you watching this right now? Don't be watching this. I don't know if this microphone is even working. Is my microphone working? Hello, hello. Customization. Right. Why is it I can't change my microphones? What? Okay. If y'all here, let's do this together. Hello, hello. Is mic working? Mic working? I don't even know. Why does YouTube suck at this? Oh my god. Bum, bum, bum. I swear to God. Oh, okay, I see. Manage. Then you got. Oh, that's weird. Hello, hello. If you can hear me, can you say it in the chat? Is it loud and clear? I'm curious. Chasing Strider, tell me it's loud and clear. It's very important. I guess I have to change it so you can say it faster. Let's see if I can do that. Yeah. 1, 2, moderation. Okay. Save. Let's see. Moderation. Committee moderation. Guys, if you've ever done YouTube live, it's horrendous. And I'm trying to do this on the fly, and it's actually pretty hard. Like, it's not easy at all. You would think that, oh wow. You would think this would be easy, but it's not. You can hear me. You put it in the chat. Otherwise, I will never know. Everybody, if you're here, I am testing YouTube Live for the first time. If you can hear me, please put in the chat that you can hear me. Otherwise, I will not be able to hear you. Mic is working. All right, let's go. Not okay, but not very clear. So it's definitely not coming through here. What I'll do is I'm gonna refresh real quick, and then we're gonna do some live coding. I'm gonna show you guys some cool stuff. Okay, I want you guys to have the best possible experience though. 3 of y'all. All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna refresh this. All right, how's the microphone now? How we doing, guys? I sure hope this microphone works. Better or less echo. Huh, interesting. All right, let's do some vibe coding type shit. What age did you learn first to code? I would say 21. I'm a late coder. So I went to school for a film degree, guys. I went to school for a film degree, and I had a friend who was a communication major, and he took a gap year to come back home to do an internship at a tech startup. And when I was 21, I was very, I took life in a very conservative way, not like politically, but like I played it safe. I'm like, I look at people who did things differently than me, and I'm like, that's probably not the good way to do it. Like taking a gap year, why don't you want to expedite your degree and kind of just get it done with? But then afterwards, he came back and he's like, now I'm going to be a computer science major. And he did great work at his internship too. He got to work with the CEO of this like e-commerce company back home, and changed his life apparently. So he switched to computer science, grinded, and then eventually got a job at Amazon after. And I got the chance to see that whole journey like in front of me. And I talked to him a couple of times. He was a kind of like a known figure on campus who was like trying new stuff, like and like the underclassmen like myself, like we all looked up to him, asking him for advice and mentorship, whatnot. And I think he told me at one point, he was like, anyone can learn how to code, which at the time I didn't know. So as a film major, my first 2 internships were at like a media company, and I also interned at a museum. So I was like doing photography, videography. That's how I know how to set up all this shit, guys. But it was fun, like working at a museum. If you want a job that is like so pretentious and chill, and if you like art, if you're an art history major, working at a museum is great because people think you're important. Because you walk into a museum space, the exhibition space, everything looks clean, everything looks high class. So I enjoy that environment. You know, I was the best videographer on campus. I was making videos, documentaries. I was like shooting all kinds of stuff. I was making money. But I had one internship at this small startup back home. And first thing I noticed was I walked into the office. It was like 10 people. Nobody wore shoes. It was carpet, so nobody wore shoes. And the CEO and the CTO's desk is like literally in the same room as everybody else. And I was like, huh, this is like not what I expected it to be. And this is like before me watching The Social Network and whatnot. And then I'm like, huh, this is kind of cool. Like, I actually dig this. So I worked there for like 3 months for the summer, and this was my junior year. So if you're not familiar in the U.S., junior year is like third year in college slash university. And I came back. I didn't have the balls to switch majors to computer science, but I did take computer science like computer science 101 essentially, like computer science class, and then it was hard, but I got A minus, and I was like, man, every Friday night. So like, the thing about that computer science course is that every Friday you have to submit your project, and it's a lot of work. I was a film and econ major, so I was like, I don't want to give up my Friday nights, so I didn't switch my major, essentially. So graduated with a degree in film and economics. Um, and then I made this move where I moved to Canada. So I was in the U.S. and I moved to Canada. I kept thinking about, you know, starting over because I kept thinking about like coding. Part of the reason why I wanted to do it was because I had a project in college where I was trading stocks essentially. I was trading a lot of stocks, and I didn't know Python. I didn't know how to automate stuff. So I looked a little bit into it, and I'm like, this is kind of cool, but I don't know how to do it. So moved to Canada, like took some courses in this like place in the middle of nowhere, and then got my first internship from that. And then that turned into a full-time job. It was my first developer job. The school that I went to in Canada, like they didn't teach me anything, but was mostly self-taught. And when I say self-taught, I mean like I would start like half-finished projects in React and then never finish them. At the time, I think it was like what 2018, 2019. So like the MERN stack. I don't know if you guys know this. Let me just share my screen real quick, actually. Or maybe I just talk to you like this. But the MERN stack, so like the MERN stack, so like MongoDB and like whatever, was kind of hot. So I tried to build stuff with that, but then I just didn't have an idea of like what I wanted to build. So that I was always start like half-ass projects on GitHub, and I mean you won't be able to find this on my GitHub, by the way. Like I've deleted them all. And wait, I see people that I know. Vero. What's up, bro? Welcome to my first live. I literally just got the microphone working. So yeah, feel free to stick around. If you had nothing else to do on a Friday morning, I don't know what time is it in Italy for you, but if you have nothing else to do, then stick around. Yeah, so anyways, back to the story. Um didn't learn shit at that second school, but did learn a lot on my job. Not because of my supervisors, but it's like the first company that I worked at, nobody knew what they were doing. So I had to teach myself. And it was great because I had for the first time, like I had so much like conviction on like a project. My project was the first thing they told me to do was build a map in Salesforce. So essentially, the company is like a risk management platform, and you gotta have a way to visualize like claims and stuff on a city map. Nobody at the company knew how to do it in Salesforce. Um, I came in, I didn't know jack shit about Salesforce, by the way. Like first time I ever heard of it, and I'm like, okay, let me just do some research. And I did some research. I realized that you can write JavaScript in Salesforce. Um, so I put together like a leaflet kind of map in Salesforce, kind of like an iframe, and then that frame I was able to connect that to like the database in Salesforce, and I was able to pull data in and then display them onto the map. And then in Leaflet, you can do a whole bunch of cool stuff with plugins. So you can install like, or you can, I guess, copy code from other people online to do like density maps, heat maps. And I blew people's mind with that project. And I worked so hard on it because there were no requirements. It was just like we need a map. And I'm like, and they were like, you own this. And I'm like, oh my God, like for the first time in my life, there's stakes at hand. There's a useful project that I'm interested in, and an interesting kind of like um, opportunity to learn JavaScript. So I think a lot of things align that it made me like literally like pull all nighters and like build it so quick and like so feature rich that I mean I got the first job from that. But it was the first time in my life that I was able to build something that I have ownership over. And it also gave me clout. Like even today, like sometimes people will be like, "Oh, remember that time?" When I talk to my old coworkers, they're like, "Remember that time you built that map thing? You were known for that map thing." And I was so proud of that. That got me my first job, and then I worked there for like 2 years. Like I said before, like there wasn't much of a ceiling there, so I had to go somewhere else to learn from people who actually know what they're doing. So my second job was at a YC startup. So completely different stack. So before I was doing like I don't know if you're not in the Salesforce ecosystem, you wouldn't know this, but essentially Salesforce, it has its own way of building things. There's this thing called Salesforce developer experience, and Lightning Web Components, which are basically web components so you can build. Yeah, it's very corporate, stuff. Second job, startup, greenfield stack, kind of like React and Flask on the back end with Python, all that. Completely new stack. I got the job because I was volunteering with a few things, and I knew the CTO and whatnot, and then they gave me a shot essentially. I didn't know jack shit about React, but I knew like general architecture stuff because I had to do that at my last job. If you ever think about like development jobs and stuff like that and what people care about when you go into an interview, it's mostly like problems that you've solved in the past, not necessarily like whether or not you've used a stack. Yeah, especially with AI nowadays, it's more about like what kind of war story can you tell these people that they can relate to, because every company has bits and pieces of the product that they dread or problems that they need to solve that are so complex that if you have an experience that is similar to that, in their mind, they're thinking, and you can probably help them solve this problem too. So, and most companies are worth their salt. Like they don't care about the stack that you come from. That's why where the city that I live in right now, Ottawa, like everybody uses Ruby on Rails because we're in. This is where Shopify started. That's why everybody who came from Shopify uses freaking Ruby, and I mean that's probably the reason why I probably will never ever get a full-time job ever again, because everything here is Ruby. Anyways, that's besides the point. But yeah, exactly, right. Like every interview is just like literally like the point is to see whether or not you want to work with the person, whether or not they think critically. I usually look for a couple of things. So like when I'm interviewing somebody for a consulting gig or whatever, I'm like, does this person communicate the same way that I do? If not a problem. We just have to adjust. And the second thing is like, what are some of the things that stood out to me? Do they specialize in something? Like, what's their niche? Like, how do they problem solve? Like, what do they have a framework to ask themselves questions to figure out problems? Do they have a track record of solving problems in the past? Can they articulate that? That's some of the things that I look for. Somebody asked, "Do you know Yassine from Ottawa?" Yeah, I met him once. So I host this thing called AI Tinkers in Ottawa, and he came and gave a talk, and I recorded it, and it's on our YouTube. In Ottawa, he used to come to this barbecue thing with a bunch of guys like myself, all doing AI stuff, but hasn't shown up since he got popular. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I have met him. He's a super chill dude actually in person. I guess like very different from what you would think when you interact with him online. If you don't know who I'm talking about, is this guy who used to work at X and then got fired. Who knew Elon? Elon brought him into X doing like ML and robotics. Got fired recently, and now he's doing his own thing in robotics, which I'm really interested in seeing his journey, honestly. But yeah, let me see like the questions in chat actually, guys. So it's first time on live. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. Some of my friends learned coding around the age of 14 while I was 17. Yeah. So when I look at people like that, oh, actually, I have a tidbit that I can share with you guys. At my last job, the startup, I was bored out of my fucking mind. Okay. Like, sometimes in life you want something so bad and then you get it. And after a while, you're like, why do I not want this anymore? That was me. I was at my job. I was like, I worked so hard for this. Why am I so bored? I was like just pushing code, doing like developer stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then there was one time one of my coworkers gave a really good presentation on Apollo. So if you don't know what Apollo is, it's like a kind of like an engine for this thing called GraphQL that you can use to like manage your API calls and stuff like that. And he talked so passionately about it. And in that moment, I realized that I could never give two fucks about Apollo to be able to talk about it like him. That's why this environment is probably not for me. This path is probably not for me. I don't want to end up like this guy. I will never end up like this guy. I will never be able to compete with this guy because I don't give two shit about this. But I think I got lucky because ChatGPT came out, and that just captured my imagination and my attention. First time I tried it, I was like, "Holy fuck! This is like a black box that you can just put things in, you get things out. You don't know what the boundary. This is like late 2022, by the way. Like you don't know the boundaries of these LLMs, and I would build stuff with it. I would stay up all night and build projects contributing to open source, and then in the morning I would show up to work super late and tired, and I went on for a while. And then during that time, like I reached out to my friends. I was like, "Hey, like I really wanted to build this. We can use this is one project." So I told my friend who's a data scientist, and I was like, "Hey, we can build this together. We can use these LLMs to like scrape our university like alma mater like database, so that every time they send out like a letter asking for money donations to the alumni, it's more personalized." That was like the project that I wanted to do, and he didn't want to do it. And I was like, oh, "What do you mean like this? I've never tried anything like this in my life. Like, why wouldn't you want to try this with me?" But yeah, that didn't work out. I actually built a prototype. I actually sent it to the university. The problem was that they would take like a month to book a meeting. So like every time I was showing like a new progress, I'm like, "Hey, I can do this now. Like you can write a very personalized email to your alumni. You can potentially ask for more money." They'll be like, "Oh, that's super cool. Let's meet it again like 60 days from now." And I'm like, "Man, get the fuck out of here." Like I'm trying to like go through more ideas. So I ended up not doing it. I ended up building a bunch of stuff, contributing to open source. I got to know people at LangChain, stuff like that. This was like early 2023. And at work, I built this like chatbot for like internal documentation. Nobody gave a shit about it. And the general consensus, especially maybe in San Francisco, people were really gung-ho about this. Because I know now that LangChain used to host meetups every single week during that time. That's how they capture that market. But I live in Canada. I live in Ottawa. My coworkers couldn't give less of a shit. Like I couldn't talk to anybody about this. I'm like, "Hey, like, have you tried like?" We didn't even call Rack at the time. I was like, "Have you tried this like chat with PDF thing? Like, I just built this quick thing for our company," and they'd be like, "Oh, cool, whatever." Like, they wouldn't even use it. So that was the reason why I started AI Tinkers in my city. So AI Tinkers is like a community of like basically developers like ourselves who are tinkering with AI and come together and we share experiences and stuff. That's how I met Yassine. And the reason why I started was because I couldn't talk about it to anybody. So I'm like, all right, let me get together with two other guys that I know want to talk about this, and we'll start a group, and then we'll get people like ourselves together. So side note, but like that turned from like the three of us to like 30 people at the first meetup, and then that turned into like hundreds of people, and now we have like 1,500 people in Ottawa who are like actively, going to our meetups and stuff. We hosted like the last two big hackathons in our region, and about to host the third one. Yeah, so I guess the moral of the story is if you can't find people who are doing cool stuff like you, if you're doing AI stuff, if you can't find them, start your own party and they will come. I think that was my takeaway. But anyways, yeah, I'll answer questions on chat too. Which platform? Sorry, it's chasing Strider. I just look at the chat now. Which platform do you use for vibe coding? I started with so like 2023 started with like copy and pasting code on ChatGPT back and forth, and then my buddy Leo put me on Cursor, and I used Cursor for at least a year and a half, pretty extensively. And then more recently, I started using Claude Code. And then Leo and I had like a quick conversation yesterday about why I like Claude Code so much, or why some people like Claude Code so much. I think it's just because of the CLI interface that is so fun to use. Like you boot up Claude Code, right? Let me just share my screen real quick, actually. I don't know why my neighbor is like banging on the door right now. But yeah, let me share my screen. Okay. You guys can see my screen, right? Okay, here. So the reason why I like Claude Code is because actually I'm gonna go into development, and then I don't know what's in here, to be honest. Homework Grader. This is a project that I built recently for this AI coding bootcamp that myself and my business partner Mary Nova is doing, and I built this to automatically look at people's code bases and grade them. It's great. It's like Git and Jest plus AI plus Notion. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so let's say I'm here in Cloud. Just look at this. Like, I think there's a reason why people buy retro gaming devices. There's a reason why that form factor is so cute and people love it. I think it's the same reason why people like CLI. It's cute. Like look at this, look the color, and like it makes you feel like you're part of this world that is like different from the GUI. Like the rules are different. So it's like you're learning how to play a game. You know what I mean? Like, you're learning how to play a game for the first time, and you're like, and when you type in something, it's like there's like a loading thing that's like kind of like quirky. When you go to Cursor, let me go open up Cursor here. When you go to Cursor, it's honestly feels kind of like I want to say corporate-y, kind of like too polished. I think it's the same reason why like people like retro things like do well. Yeah, because it looks like it's from a different world. That's what I'm trying to say. And then you go in here and you're like, okay, blah 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 blah, and then and also I added like the MCP server from Vercel the other day. Guys, if you haven't tried the MCP server from Vercel, and you're like a Next.js kind of like developer, you should definitely try it. I personally have not had good experience with this, to be honest. I added it, and then I wanted to ask about AI SDK 5, but it wasn't able to give me good stuff. So here's a quick tip for you. Here's a free tip for you. What I did instead was that I actually added links to like specific documentation sites from Vercel that I want to always target, and then leave that in my ClawMD. So let me show you this. This is a project that I've been building. It's called Repo Teacher. So I will open source this soon. But essentially what this does is it allows you to essentially go to any GitHub repo and then chat with it with complete understanding, like agentically. So imagine Git ingest, but like lets you chat with stuff on the same place. And this is going to be an MCP server at some point too. So that you're in your cursor, Claude Code, you ask like, how do I build Supabase auth the right way? This tool will give you your agent like 5 for 3 like open source repos that have the right pattern. So your agent will build it the right way instead of like coming up with it on the spot or whatever Claude or GPT-5 knows from the pre-trained knowledge, which is usually not great. So here's a quick tip for you guys. So what I do is I would do like a ClawMD like this, and then I would just bake all the links in here. You know why? Then the reason why I did this was because sometimes documentations go out of date. Recently, Dell updated their AI SDK from 4 to 5. So all the documentation that AI would pull in that are SEO friendly are from 4. And then 5 is just a couple of days from launch. And I wanted to use 5. And every time I vibe code something, it'll pull in 4 knowledge from 4, and then it will write the wrong code, which doesn't work with my code base. So what I do is whatever documentation sites that I keep, I just paste them in here. This is ClawMD. And then what's interesting is that Claude actually will fetch these sites before it does a thing. So for example, if I tell it to like write some tool calling stuff with stream text, it'll actually fetch this first and then do the task. And there's some like logic about like how you want it to do it. And as you can see, my ClawMD is actually pretty long, which is not great, honestly. But I would have like a ClawMD like at the root folder, and I would have a ClawMD at like every layer of the code base. So for example, like my AI folder, I have like a ClawMD here to like lay it down, the layout and the patterns for how to build tools, where to find the documentation essentially. And like there are patterns how I want things to be added to the code base essentially. And the cool thing is that you can ask AI to do this. One of the rules that I put in Claude Code for this code base is whenever a change is complete or whenever a change is approved by me, aka I say something like, hey, good job, let's move on to something else, then it needs to go and update the ClawMD file. Like you can ask Claude to update ClawMD files. And you should definitely do that because otherwise you won't be doing that yourself. So at the last bootcamp, the coding bootcamp that we did, let me just put my face bigger again because I like that. The last bootcamp that we did, I'm not trying to show anything, by the way. The last bootcamp that I did with my business partner, some of our students kept asking about like what's like the holy grail, like kind of like one-shot ClawMD file that they can use that will work forever. And if you have that kind of mindset, that thing does not exist, by the way. Like ClawMD files, agent.md, cursor rules, these things evolve with your code base and evolve with your knowledge of your product and your taste. As you're adding more code, for example, more patterns of API endpoints, you need to update these rule files. There's no one size fits all rule file that works across all programming languages. So when you see this is why I fucking hate influencers, by the way. So if you see somebody post on Twitter or whatever and they say like, hey, this is like the team of agents and it's a folder full of like MD files and they're all like you are an expert in X, you are an expert in Y. Please don't fucking use that. Yeah, I can tell you that those things are a waste of time, and people who post those things don't actually build real things. And you've seen this on Twitter too. People like this get called out all the time. What you should do instead is, if you have code base and you use Claude, absolutely create Claude MD file to bake in the rules. Start with something small like never relieve comments in the code, inline code. Always write docstring for functions. Whatever stuff that you normally do, you need to specify that in the rule file so that your Claude code will follow that. Hopefully, it's like if I say like don't write inline comments, still fucking write it. That's why I kind of hate it. But that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that file should evolve with you as you build out your code base. And yeah, I'd say that I'm looking at my neighbor right now, and they're like banging on their patio for some reason. Like, anyways, sorry about that. But what I'm trying to say is there's no one size fit all rule files. If they're trying to sell you that, do not buy. Do not buy rule files for agents from people online who are influencers. Lee Robinson had like a pretty good tweet recently. So Lee Robinson was the lead like VP of product and lead educator at Vercel, and he moved to Cursor recently. And he had put out a tweet recently about how we need less people showing off stuff that are 0 to 1 and more people showing stuff that are 1 to 100. What this means is that if you're new to the space, what you want to do is you want to follow, want to have a balanced diet, essentially. You want to follow people who are doing 0 to 1 stuff. So like, this is the first time I'm building this, or this is a brand new project I'm doing. And you want to follow people who are doing 1 to 100. So like, I have scaled my product to 100 users, 1,000 users, 100,000 users. I work at a corporate and we have Asians, and this is how we scale it. So you want to balance that diet of that, both, because here's the thing: you can't have one or the other. You shouldn't have one and not the other. The reason for that is because if you only follow the stuff that are bleeding edge, that is like 0 to 1, then you're missing out on like the real lessons of like how businesses and products are built and how they're serving customers. Because these 0 to 1 things don't serve any users at all. They're just there to show off how cool the tech is. And that might go away in like a week or a month. If you only follow all 1 to 100 things, you miss out on the bleeding edge stuff. You miss out on the imaginative, creative projects out there that could potentially not only like make you want to do more stuff, but also like give you ideas of what to build for your project. So a balanced diet of people who build new stuff and people who scale stuff. Me personally, I am very particular about who I follow on LinkedIn. So this is a really horrible habit of mine, but I train myself to, whenever I add somebody new on LinkedIn, I will actually unfollow them right away until I check their profile and I see something cool they post, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow you. So on my LinkedIn, I have, I think, 20,000 connections, and I follow maybe like 50 people. It takes discipline, and nobody knows this actually. I don't know why I told everybody now. That's why I miss out on like people's, I'm excited to announce that, blah, blah, blah. I never see that stuff ever. But I get a lot of good stuff from people who post cool shit, like Lee Robinson, or Hamel Hussein, or like Jason Liu and all those people. Yeah, I'm down to answer questions. It's been 40 minutes on live. I'm glad that I figured out this microphone. And shout out to the 5 people who are still here. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna start doing live like every day around like 1 p.m. EST. I'll just be coding, and then you guys can ask questions. I'll address them, and then I'll show you like how I use Claude Code. And there's this new thing recently. If you guys want to take away anything from this today, and other than my yapping, here I want to show you guys. You should try this. So Claude Code is like only works with Claude, right? But now we have, and Claude Code only works with Claude. What's it called? Codex only works with OpenAI, as far as I know. Gemini CLI only works with Gemini, as far as I know. And then some Chinese company cloned Gemini. I forgot what it was. Quen, I think. Quen has its own CLI now. But Cursor CLI is now out. And this works with any model, essentially. So if you want to try GPT-5, get this. And get an account on Cursor if you already have one. That's great. And it's free for the weekend, free for the launch week. So if you ever thought about running your agent 24 hours a day for like multiple days, which was the reason why Claude and Anthropic changed the pricing model because of that. With people who do that, you should do that this weekend because it's free and Cursor doesn't charge you extra for that. And you just run it and run it and run it and see what happens. Okay, to recap, I'll be here 1 p.m. every day, probably weekends as well, streaming. I'll be building some stuff, open source stuff. Yeah, tune in tomorrow or not. I don't care. I actually do care. I have very low self-esteem. So I do care. I hope Vero show up again. So Vero and I, so Vero's in the chat. Vero and I met for the first time in San Francisco a couple months ago at the LangChain conference, and we had a great time. He's a chill dude. He's an AI tech lead at a startup, and I think he's a CTO. Actually, I don't remember. Sorry, Vero, but he's great. I'll bring on guests and we'll chat and whatnot. But you guys want to stick around? Come back tomorrow. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'll be swearing too. This is not PG-13, by the way. Like, if you don't like that stuff, maybe I'll launch a version that is not swearing. But let me know, like, in the guys. Should I make like a Discord or something? Because like, we'll be hanging out here. We'll be making friends and stuff. Maybe you should create a community or something. Or do something. This is the first day I just figured out how the microphone works. I've been yapping for 45 minutes, but thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody for watching my channel since the beginning. We are so back. I will be making content this summer because I've been itching to do that. So thank you all for being here. Just put that in chat. But yeah, I gotta go eat. Let me know what you guys think. I don't Discord. Okay, let me make a Discord right now. Actually, there are 10 people here watching me making a Discord. I have a Discord actually. I have a Discord. Let me pull this up real quick. And feel free to ask me questions, by the way. My advice are free, and I usually don't hold back. Yeah. So here, I have this. If you guys want to join me and we hang out, join this. This is just an existing Discord for my product platform thing that I don't maintain anymore. But we'll turn this into a new community. As you can tell, I do not have any plans whatsoever in my life. If you're late here, I just figured out how to use the microphone, and now we're live. I will be back here every day at 1 p.m. actually. So stay tuned. Link to the Discord in the chat. If you need it, it's in the chat. But yeah, I will be coding a lot this weekend because GPT-5. Hopefully I'll see you guys. And when I do, I will be streaming it so that I don't open up weird shit on my computer and not do work. That's the real reason why I'm doing this. It's because when I'm working, I get frustrated. I open up other tabs and I don't do work. But with you guys watching, hopefully I will do work. But yeah, thank you, Rockstar. I will see you in the Discord. All right, everybody, have a good Friday. Have a good weekend. I will see you tomorrow and every day at 1 p.m. Rain or shine, I'll be there. All right. Cheers, Mike.